In the last lesson, we looked at arithmetic sequences, which was a list of numbers, and we learned how to write a formula for any term in the list. Today we're going to look at what's called an arithmetic series, which is when you add all of the terms together. So we've got our first example here. We've got our arithmetic series adding 2 to each term. So you could just add up the terms, but if you have a lot of terms that you want to know the sum for, it's nice to have a formula. So we have one of those as well. S sub n, remember n is number of terms. So S sub n would be the sum of the first n terms equals n times the quantity first term. So we're looking right here, first term plus last term all over 2. There's another way to represent a series, and that's using what's called summation notation. You might also see it called sigma notation, because this symbol is the Greek sigma. So what this tells you is you'll see a number at the bottom of sigma, and that tells you where you're starting, or the term that you're going to start with. And with summation notation, you don't always start at the first term. The number at the top tells you which term to stop at. So again, the numbers above and below sigma are the number of the term where you start and you stop. And then off to the right, you will see the explicit formula that you can use to find each of those terms. And sigma itself means you are adding all of those terms together. So we'll take a look at that. First, we're going to see a really basic sequence just to practice that formula. So we're given 4 numbers. We could just as easily add these 4 numbers up, but of course the purpose is to practice the formula. So let's see how that works. So S, as a reminder of what the formula is, oh, my calibration decided to stop working on me. So that's a t sub 1 plus t sub n all over 2. So again, n is the number of terms, so we're going to say the sum of the first 4 terms equals 4 times the quantity first term in our list is 13, plus last term, 25, all over 2. And when you punch that in your calculator, being careful for order of operations, make sure you put parentheses around that sum, you'll get 76. And again, you can double check if you just add those 4 numbers up. Now we're going to take a look at an example where we don't know the last term. We know the first few terms in our sequence. We're looking for the sum of the first 25 terms. Well, the formula needs that 25th term, so the first thing we have to do is remember our arithmetic sequence formula. To find the 25th term. So t sub 25 equals first term plus the common difference, I can tell that we're adding 9, times n, number of terms minus 1, so that would be 24. So in this sequence, the 25th term is 219. Now we can go ahead and find our sum. So the sum of the first 25 terms is number of terms times the quantity first term plus last term all over 2. And again, when you calculate that, 2,775 is our sum. Last example, we're going to take a look at sigma notation or summation notation. Again, the number at the bottom is where you start. So we're starting with our first term, and we are stopping at our 25th term. So again, the numbers on the bottom and the top are the term numbers. This is our explicit formula, so we can find those terms. Now, when we are adding all of them up, when it's arithmetic, and you'll know that the sequence is arithmetic when the k value is just k, it's not squared or cubed or anything like that. So if the explicit formula looks like it could be a line, that would be an arithmetic sequence or series. So to find our first term, we substitute 1 into our explicit formula. 6 minus 2 is 4. To find our 25th term, that's all we need for our summation series. We substitute 25 in for k, and we get negative 44 for our 25th term. Now with the first and the last term, we can use our series formula. So the sum of the first 25 terms is number of terms times the quantity first term minus, or actually plus the last term, but in this case our last term is negative, all over 2. And when you calculate that, we get a sum of negative 500. That is it. That wraps up this lesson, so here are your U-tries.